Oh, no volume. There we are. G'day, everyone. Hope you're having a good Friday. If it's Friday for you, it's Friday for me, and that means we're going to do a UI challenge. So that should be fun. Let's have a look at what we're working on, and a hi to everyone. So we're going to work on this fishing UI that we've been working on. So this is a design by Fadila Rizki. So it's basically this really nice fishing application, and we've already been doing some work on this one. So so far we've of these pages we've done this first one here, we've done this second one here, and we've made a bit of a start on this third page, so this panorama page, and that's what we're going to work on today. All right, so let's have a look at the application. So here's the application running over here. So we can see we've got our first page, we've got a carousel view with our little gradient in there. If we go into our Explore tab, we've got the details page in here, including a little carousel view here in order to see the different fishing spots. And if we click on this button here, we can go to the panorama view. So it's starting out by loading a bitmap resource, a great big bitmap resource across the web. So we might want to put a progress spinner in there or K-Shit or something. But basically on this view here, we've got a panorama. We can go through, we can see we've got a flying fish here. So we might have to adjust where it's positioned. Scroll a little bit further, we'll find ourselves another fish over here. Okay, we got another fish. So we kind of got a little bit of this, this annotation working. Now, if we have a look at the design in a little bit more detail, there's some interesting things happening on this page here. So let me bring this over here and we'll have a look. Okay, so some of the interesting things that are happening is, of course, we've got annotation like we have at the moment. There's got a bit of text in there, so we might have to put that in. But also, we've got these annotations here, which indicate, well, assume what they indicate is that there's a fish somewhere here on the panorama, and there's a fish somewhere off here in the panorama. So we've actually got kind of three types of annotations depending on where the user is. So either it's a sort of on-screen annotation, it's to the left or to the right. Now there's also this little pop-up here. Hey Rocksmith, how you doing? Welcome. Just turn that music down a little bit. Hope you're having a good day. Hi. So apart from these, so we're going to have these three styles of annotations, and we're going to have to swap between those annotations. Hey, Ginfinger. How you doing? Good morning. Good morning indeed. All right. So yeah, we're just working on this fishing app. So we've got our three types of annotations. We're going to have to swap between those as something comes in screen or off screen. R2, how you doing?
It's R2, so you can't argue with him.
Hope you're doing well. We're doing a little bit of SkiaSharp in this sort of fishing app. So how's this going to work? Look, my assumption is going to be something like we're going to have to provide like a click on one of these, and that will sort of make this bottom panel visible. Maybe what it does is it slides in and out. So I think the way we'll make this work is, or what we'll get it to do, is when you click on a fish, this thing will pop up and show you the details of the fish you've clicked. If you click somewhere else, then perhaps it'll hide that away. It seems like a reasonable approach. All right, so like I said, we've got some annotations going on here at the moment. So maybe I'm just thinking about what we'll tackle next. So maybe what we'll tackle next is when something goes off screen, we get the annotations to indicate that there's a fish over here or there's a fish over here. So that's probably a good starting point, I reckon. And then what we'll do is we'll implement the click, and then we'll implement this dialog, or this will pop up down here. So hopefully that makes sense. And then, if we want to get really fancy, we'll put this on a gyroscope, and we'll make it so you can sort of look around by moving the phone. But we'll tackle this screen here first. Alrighty, let's go and have a look at a code. The code. In fact, I might just. Okay, so what will we do first? We'll do the off-screen annotations first. That's what we'll do. And that's going to require us to draw these different types of annotations. Okay. Let's go and tackle this. Let's stop this running. Let's have a look at what we have. This is our fishing location page. So as you can see, it's got a canvas view, which is displaying our image, and we've got a pan gesture as well, which is what's doing our panning. Now, I'm going to guess in order to handle the clicks, we're going to have to change that because we want to be able to work out where we click on the canvas. And it turns out that there is some touch events. There's enable touch events for a canvas view. And we can enable that. Okay, and there's this touch that we have. And if we go and have a look at that, okay, this gets an E dot, it's something like action type. There we go. And so the action type is what we're actually doing. So we've got a bunch of different things we've got there. We've got entered, we've got pressed, we've got moved, released, cancelled, exit, wheel changed. Realistically, all we care about is probably the pressed and the moved when it comes down to it. Okay, so, but I'm pretty sure that if we run our application with this touch enabled, I'm not going to get this touch because the panorama or the pan gesture that we have here is going to interfere with it. So we might have to do this all based on the SkiaSharp touch events. Let's have a look, see what we have. Let's go to a fish here. Let's just see what happens. When we pressed, it looks like that actually worked. Okay, so that's a good thing. Oops, let me get rid of that now. So that probably means that we do have scrolling and we do have touch. That's cool. I didn't think that was going to work. All right, well, that's good. That's good news. So now what we can do is we can say, let's have a look at the location here. So it's going to be like E dot location, and that should tell us where we've touched. Okay, and that's going to be in terms of SkiaSharp coordinates. So I think what we'll need to do here is we'll need to have some kind of method which says, have we actually touched on a fish? So what we need to do is we need to work out where the annotations are, right? So we've got a scroll position here. I'm just trying to refamiliarize myself with this code here. It's where we draw a marker. So when we draw a marker, we draw an oval, we draw a line going up, and then we go ahead and we draw the fish. And we've got this collection, or this dictionary here, which is a dictionary of our fish models. So the fish model tells us where it is and what kind of fish it is, and our fish annotation. And our fish annotation basically creates our annotation for our fish. In this case, it draws a rounded rect here, draws a fish in the middle. So that's our annotation. Okay, so that's our annotation. Now, it's just creating the bitmap here. It actually doesn't say where it should be on the screen. Okay, so we're going to have some kind of method, which will be something to sort of to the effect of, you know, where is the fish, right? So maybe we need to do something like based on based on our location of the fish, we'll return a rect out of here. Okay, here's our paint method. This draws our marker. So this must have the code here to say where it is. Okay, draws an oval, draws a line, draws a fish, and it draws it actually up, offsets it by the line length, right? Because the annotation itself, like the actual location of the marker would be, for example, here, but then we actually draw the bubble up on this line here. Okay, so we need to work out where it is. And we got our scroll position as well. Okay, so let's do this. Let's create a perhaps a method which would return us a rect for the annotation screen rect, right? Because we want to do this in terms of screen coordinates, and we'll do this for a fish. So we'll pass in a fish, and we'll say, given everything we know about this fish, where is it going to be displayed? Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to work out its marker location. Okay, so it's going to do something like this. Get marker location. Work out where the annotation should be. And this is probably going to be a little bit different depending on what type of annotation, but we haven't done that yet. So let's just see if we can't get our clicks working first. Okay, so if we get our marker location for this fish. Now, this is actually on-screen annotation, the marker pos. We go and offset it by a certain amount, and then we draw it at a position. Let's copy some of this code here. Okay, where's our marker pos? Let's see if we can work out what we're doing here. Marker pos. I'm just going to copy some of this. Maybe I should say, maybe I should create a method which would have like a escape point, maybe. For a fish model. Okay, so this is going to say, okay, go and create a new point. Its X is going to be the width of the bitmap times its anchor point, which is going to be like 0.5 or something like that. Hey, William Roosevelt. Oh, I have a bit of an off-topic question. I was building an app on App Center, but the build is getting stuck on a process I don't understand. Creating copy MDB files.stamp because always create was specified. Does that make sense to you? It's not something I'm familiar with. No, not really. So does it make sense to me? No, but I don't even know what a .stamp file is. Is that using, is that a database thing? But no, I'm sorry, I don't know. Does it all work? Does it all work locally on a release build? That's what I'd be checking first of all. Does it work on a release build? On your local machine? I'd just be, he works on the release build. Not sure. I'd be Googling that, quite frankly, because I'm not familiar with it. Able to build locally? Yeah. Haven't seen it. I don't know if Lachlan's in the chat. Lachlan's good at App Center. Okay, get marker screen position. So this is really, let's be a little bit more specific here, because we're going to get confused between the absolute coordinates and the screen coordinates, right? Because, for example, you know, if we've got this image here, really this image is like this, right? And we want to get its on-screen position. And that's why we're doing this offset here, minus the scroll position. So let's get that. And let's get rid of this and let's just go. Let's pass that in here. Okay, so we know where that should be, but we know that we're going to have an offset here. And that's going to have to be in our, oops, we're not returning a point out of here. That's going to have to be here, right? So we got our fish pause.
It doesn't matter how much you know about implementation.
Hey Tarasag, how you doing?
Or writing layers, or
Let's get the annotation.
video game terms.
So to do that, we're going to be doing something like fish annotations. And for the fish dot
So the first thing for me,
on-screen annotation.
learning your craft.
Now, so again, we've got our marker point here.
Music is going.
So here,
It's in your head, and you're still thinking.
we're going up a certain amount,
Know how to
and it's that rect there that we want to return out of here.
through completion
So we've got our line length.
and have it stand on its own with everything else that's out there.
So what are we going to have? Well, first of all, we want to create an SK rect. Right, and we're going to sort of say, and we'll do it with offset. So we'll say, okay, so we're going to rect. We're going to say it's at 0, 0. So this is just to get the rect of the annotation. Hey, Jinfingu, you have to watch later on? No worries. I'll upload the videos to YouTube. I haven't updated the previous sessions, so I'll do that hopefully later on today. Okay, so we've got a rect. I hope you enjoy whatever it is you have to do. Now we need to get our annotation.width and our annotation.height. So now we have a rect, right? But it's just a rect at 0, 0. So we want to go and offset this. Okay, so we'll move the rect. And actually, I wonder if we could do dot location. If we set our location equal to the marker screen pos, that would, like, given a dot here, a marker pos, it would position it like here. So now what we need to do is we need to offset it by 50% and then take it up by the line height plus half the height of this. I think that kind of makes sense. In fact, that's exactly what this is doing. So let's get our rect. Let's offset it by our annotation width divided by 2. Yep. Minus the height divided by 2. Yep. So half the height plus the line length. I think that makes sense. All right. So now we need to have a look at this line length here. Where's our line length? That feels like it's a variable I've just jammed somewhere. It is. Our line length is 300. So we're going to make this sort of something a little bit more up here. And there's lots of refactoring to be doing with this later on. So let's go line length of 300. So now we've got our line length. We've got that. And then we should be able to return our rect back out of here. Okay. Cool. So that should get us our annotation screen rect. All right. Hey, Glenn Stevens, how you doing? We're working on our fish at the moment. So what we're doing at the moment is we've got our various annotations, but what we're going to do is we want to detect when we click on one. I'm well. Yeah, I'm well. Not too bad. I think I'm getting a little bit of a cold, but I'm okay. I'm a little bit tired, but all in all, pretty good. So, let's work with this information. Get annotation screen rect. So now we know the rectangle of where it is. So now we should be able to say, you know what, when I click on this puppy here, I should be able to do something like iterate through and have a look if the point that we touched on is actually in any of the annotations. And we'll just write some nasty little code here. So let's not do a for loop. I could do a for loop, but let's instead go for each of our fish in our fish annotations. Come on, you can do it. You can do it, Kim. In our fish annotations. Yep. Okay. So now we want to say, let's get its screen rectangle position. We're going to pass in our fishy. It's going to return us a rect, right? And then we should be able to say, if our on-screen rect contains the touch point, then we've clicked on a fish. Not happy with that. Fish dot key. There we are, because that's our key into our dictionary. So Glenn, how you doing? You good? Okay, and let's do this. Let's go, let's just write this out for a second. Because we should be able to say, I clicked on yeah, SkiaSharp. SkiaSharp's interesting. I like it. So we should be able to say, I clicked on our fish name. So that would be our starting point, I suppose, to see whether we're getting that. It has been too long. R2, did you get a microphone? Is that what you alluded to in a stream the other day? Are you going to start streaming? Because you should. Oh, here we are. Meanwhile, the app's all loaded. Let's go and have a look here. Boom, boom, boom. Let's go. I really need to cache these images. Sure has. Lovely. Okay, so it is definitely calling our tap. Let's see if this works. Hey, I clicked on a snapper. That's not what you were alluding to. Yes, you did. I clicked on a snapper. It's not often you get to say that. And if I come over here, so these clicks should be doing nothing. And I click on a silverfish. Oh, I gotta go and have a look at that tweet. I don't know how. Oh, can I share that? I suppose you've already shared it, so I can definitely share it. Oh, except my paste isn't working between my screens here. But I can see here it says, so I got to build a mobile puzzle game with remote control powers for an event, distancing friendly. Like all good things will start in LinkPad and end in Xamarin. Going to try streaming. So if you want to hang out and heckle, follow us. Follow R2AU. So there you go. That right? Yeah, go follow that. I'm pretty sure I do already, but if I don't, I will. Because R2's a super awesome coder. All right, so we've got our click working. That's good, right? So the question is, what do we want to do on that click? I think the first thing we want to do is if we click on a fish, like let's say the fish is over here and we click on it, let's scroll it into the middle of the screen. Followed. Good man, Glenn Stevens. Good man. Okay, so we'll do this. We'll do this a little bit cheeky as well. We'll do this. We'll go animate to fish, or maybe animate. Yeah, let's just go animate to fish. That'll be cool. And then we'll pass in a fish, right? Because that should give us everything we need to know for where its position is, right? So animate to fish. Let's generate a method. Let's just create a little animation here, just to loosen up the, loosen up a bit of code here. Okay, so we want to go and we want to animate, or we want a starting position. And this is going to be from where we currently are. So we're gonna adjust the scroll position, essentially. So we'll say, let's start at the scroll position. Our end position is going to be our absolute marker position. So we have this method here, but I don't think this is what we want, because this is going to tell us where it is relative on the screen. What we really want is we want a method that does something like get marker absolute position. Right, because that's where we're going to scroll to. And it's pretty much just this, right? I think. It's just like refactoring. This is what happens when you don't think about your code before you start writing. You just can't. copying code around. But we're going to basically say, okay, the absolute position of this marker in terms of the bitmap coordinates is the width times the anchor and times that anchor. And then we return marker pos. Okay, so here we can say, we're going to go marker pos equals get marker absolute position. And we'll refactor this later. But anyway, that should give us the absolute pos. All right, so now we should be able to do something like get marker absolute position for a key. Let's rename that to fish. So now I have the absolute position. So I kind of know where I need to, math. I hate maths. I kind of wish I paid more attention actually in maths. But we actually don't want to go to that position because if we go to that position, it's going to be on the very left, right? So we want to offset this by half of the screen. So this is going to be, do we have a method for this? I think we want something which will return us. We want the screen window rect divided by like width divided by 2. Right? So that's where we want to offset it to. So let's create a property for that. And this property here is going to be like an SKRect. The way I normally code this stuff up really is just start hacking away and then I'll go and have a look at all the areas for refinement. I'm one of those people who just writes messy code and then comes back to it. So we are going to create an SKRect. Right, so we'll return an SKRect. And this is going to be I don't know whether you'd want to cache all of this stuff instead of calculating it all the time. You probably do. But look, the rect is going to be the left of this. Okay, so the left of this is going to be our scroll position because our scroll position is actually in SkiaSharp units. The top is going to be 0 because it's at 0. The right is going to be the canvas width. So we had our panorama, right? And if we say, let's have a look at its canvas size dot width, and we want this to be height as well. So that would give us the right value. It looks a little bit nasty though, because actually a panorama.canvas is an SK size. So we could actually, yeah, it's all right. I'm just thinking we could get the rect of the canvas and then we could offset it by the scroll position instead, but it doesn't matter. All right, But anyway, we've got our screen window rect. So we're going to offset that by half, which seems about right. And now we know where we want it to be. We're not doing things in the Y coordinates, so we don't have to worry about that. So let's create an animation for our movement. All right, it's been a while since I've done one of these puppies. What we want to do is we want to get a value, and we basically want to say, let's make our scroll position have that value, right? So we're animating to that scroll position. We're setting that scroll position as we go through, right? So that seems okay. We want to start at the start position. We want to end at the end position. We might want to give it a nice little bounce. You know, a little bit of bounce is nice. What's our end position? It's an SK point. Well, that's not going to work because the scroll position is an int. So we need to get, we need its X value. And then we'll add a bit of easing in here as well. I'm going to move this down over a few lines, I think. So we'll go to our start position, our end position, and we'll give it an easing. Kind of want it to like spring, you know, like we want it to go like doing. That's an official animation term, by the way. All right, so we got an animation. I like to create a parent animation because we're probably going to do other things in here as well, right? So we'll say a parent animation equals a new animation. And then we'll say parent animation dot add a movement animation in there, beginning at 0, ending at 1. So for the full length of the animation, we want to add our movement animation. Right, and the reason I might want to do that is because I might want to animate, I might want to add another animation, not only of our movement of this, but also of like the dialogue popping up as well. And then I can say like parent animation. The other reason I like this as well is because when I run that animation, I can say, give it a name of move to fish. Let's go animate to fish. What I can do is I can specify how long it's going to be. It allows me to give a bit more control. We want a frame rate of 16. We'll do it over like, I don't know, pretty fast, 0.4 of a second. So if I'm not mistaken, now when we click on an annotation, we're going to animate that to the middle of the screen. And that's if I've done my maths right and whether my code compiles. That's a double-ish. Okay. And, oh, the other thing I have to check, right, is scroll position. Yeah, it does. When we change our scroll position, we clamp that to be within the bitmap, right? So it can't overshoot the bitmap. And then when we move it, we invalidate the surface or we redraw the screen. So, so what that means is it should actually, hopefully, animate us to that. So if I got a fish here, all right, it animated, do you see that? It animated to totally the wrong place. Like totally the wrong place. Boink. Is there even any logic in that? Doink. You, click on you. Oh. Interesting. It's going to get a different value each time. That doesn't seem right. All right, let's have a look. We're obviously, our end pos is not right. Dum, dum, dum. Let's have a look at what our values are. So, click on a fish. We get a starting position. We're scrolled at 1552. We get our absolute position, 1700. Which doesn't seem very right. The width of our what? The width of our screen, which is minus 100. What? Nah, that can't be right. Because what's this? What? I don't agree to anything. Screen window rect. Scroll position 1552. Canvas width 1440. Our height is 2112. That looks right to me. This does kind of look right. Let's do this. Let's go from way back over here. Oh, we can't. Math. Let's click on this puppy. We're currently at 576. I don't much like this screen window rect business. I don't feel that's right. Oh. Oh, I don't think... That width isn't right. That width is not right. That rect is incorrect. Right, so we're getting our width right. But the rect doesn't specify, the way the rect works is we got our right point. So maybe I was right to want to refactor that. You know, normally when you want to refactor something, often it's because your gut says, yeah, it's not right. Let's try a slightly different approach here. Instead, let's get our canvas size. Well, actually, let's get our screen position, right? So we'll say an SK point, which is our screen position, equals an SK point at the scroll position, the refactor smell. Exactly. And I often don't pay enough attention to it. And I just keep on plowing on through, which is, you know, why I've got my little refactor count, right? To try and remind myself, I'm going to increment that. I'm going to increment it by 2. I'm going to have to refactor my refactoring thing. Let's reset it to 0. All right. All right. You get problems when your refactor counter needs refactoring. Actually, just feels like a bug. So let's create a screen rect. Let's create that at. See, there's. You can create a rect, right? And so you can say create a rect of a particular size at a width and a height. Hey, Eden Nilsson, how you doing? We can say at a location, so we have a screen position, and we can have a size. Right, and so we have a canvas size. So this will be an easier way to do it, I think. So we'll say, let's do this at screen position, comma, panorama, canvas size. Right, so now we're saying work out where we are on the screen and then create a rect at that position of the panorama size. So I think that's going to work for us better. Let's find out. You know, or it won't. And then we'll refactor again. At least the animation worked. I mean, you got to take the positives, right? I have to cache these bitmaps, I think. Makes me sad looking at this little black screen while it loads a resource across the web. Oh. Let's just run it. Let's just see what it does first. Wow. Okay. I can happily say that didn't work either. Maths, man, maths. Why so maths? Let me come and click on a fish again. Come on, fish. You. Right. So what do we got? We're starting at our scroll position. Let's have a look at what that is. Come on. What, you're not going to tell me anymore? Oh. Hey, Sino420. How you doing? First time I'm catching this live because I couldn't fall asleep. Well, let me help you with that. Let me help you fall asleep. Start position. Okay. I need to put some breakpoints here. Let's keep running that. All right. So let's say I click on this. We're starting at our scroll position. We're at 5176. Get marker absolute position. This can't be right. That should be at 5.3. And we want to... We're at 5.1. We want to go to 5.3. Right? That's cool. So... at this point, 5.1 to 5.3, F10. Oh. You know that, like, off by one errors? When you're doing scrolling, there's also like the, you know, negative. I think we were scrolling past it by half a screen. Hey, Sino, I learned quite a lot thanks to your previous UI challenges. Oh, good. Fantastic. I do plan on going back and creating small videos from each of the different UI things. I just need more time. I reckon we've got it this time. The off... That's correct, R2. The off by 1,000 error. Not anymore. Boing. Look. Now we're centering a fish. There's a little bit of weirdness there. I think when it pan. So this should come to the center when I click on it. Doing. Doing. All right. That's good. That works. It's taken us to the right position. Doing. Doing. All right, cool. So that's what we want to do, right? So that centers a fish. Beautiful. And that should hopefully work with, you know, all of our fishies, like on this one here. I click on this. Doing. Yeah. To the middle you go. Beautiful. So that's a good thing. Now, the reason I'm doing this, right, is because we want to be able to tap on one of these puppies and then scroll across to where that is. So now we're at a interesting thing where we've got to start thinking about these different annotations. So shall we tackle that? Shall we? I like that animation. Doing, I could do that all day. All right. So what do we need to do? We need, let's go to the one with multiple fish. We need to basically say something like, if something is off the screen, I still, hey, Alphengolf, how's it going? It's going well. We just, we got our flying fish here. We've basically made it now so it knows when we click on an annotation. And when we click on the annotation, we center that fish. Boing. So that was good. There was a lot of dumb maths that I should have been able to do much faster, but I didn't. So that puts us there. Now, what we would want to do is we'd want to pop something up here down the bottom. But before we do that, let's see if we can draw this. So this is what it should do, right? Dumb math, exactly. Dumb math. Yeah, it's hard doing maths, particularly when you're live. You know, live on you're doing it on stream. It's harder to think on stream. I don't know why. So when this goes off the screen, oh, really? I just click the back button. When it goes off the screen, we don't want to actually get rid of displaying it. Instead, we want to show an annotation that's still sitting here, right? And there's a fish over here somewhere, and this should show the annotation for the fish here, but without the little line marker. I've had to write some dumb math before when writing automation UI tests to swipe away a pop-up that was causing tests to fail. Yeah. All right. So this is gonna be interesting. And this is going to involve some more dumb maths. Stupid maths. Always getting in the way. Because in our drawing code, we're going to have to do something like get annotation screen rect, draw the fish. In fact, before I do that, let's just get the annotations for this. So if we have a look, actually, no, let's not bother with that. Let's instead say, so this is drawing marker. Drawing marker is called. Let's go and have a look at where we're calling this from, which is here. We basically come through and we say for all of the fishies, draw a marker. Then we work out the position of it. Then we draw a marker, we draw a line, and then we draw the fishy, right, the fish annotation. So we kind of want to change this a little bit to be a bit smarter. Because we don't always want to draw the marker. I'm going to write some pseudocode first because that'll help me with my dumb maths. The first thing we want to do is we want to get the absolute position of the marker, right? And I think we had get marker absolute position. Hey, Lanio123. Hey, Kim, I'm fairly new .NET dev. Really just wanted to thank you for making these Xamarin UI challenge videos. Oh, awesome. Several years experience with React Native iOS. I've been wanting to switch to Xamarin for a while, but struggled to find good examples of UI-intensive Xamarin apps. So thanks to you, I'll be making a full switch over to .NET for back-end and front-end. Beautiful. I'm pleased you found it useful. Sometimes I think that it's kind of like... Anyway, I appreciate that very much. Yeah, so normally the things that I do with these are kind of very specific, pretty wacky UIs. But that's because I don't see many people doing wacky UIs. I see a lot of people doing simple layouts. So I just like to do things which I don't know how to do. And so it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard because a lot of this code is very specific to the solution. But anyway, it's good you find it useful. I appreciate it. Okay, so I think we have a marker absolute position. We got that, right? We got that. Now what I want to do is work out based on the position what type of annotation, right? Because there's three types. There's a left annotation, there's a right annotation, and there's a center annotation. So if I have a look at that, what that means is we've got an annotation, a left annotation, a right annotation, and a center. And they're all different UIs. Alpha and go. I'll be honest. Never touched Xamarin, but I enjoy watching you implement these. Oh, that's good. Always something to learn. Fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to stop this code here for a second. So work out the position, what type of annotation we're going to have. So let's have a display type. And Alphengoff's, I've been dabbling with Flutter for the past 2 years, which looks like a lot of fun. I'd like to do a bit of Flutter. But now Maui's coming out, I'm going to invest my time in that, I think, because Otherwise I have to learn Dart, right? Went back to studying native iOS development because I feel like it would be beneficial to know what happens on the native layers. Absolutely. Absolutely. You should, a good understanding of what's happening at the native layer. But, like sometimes you don't have to. Like I think for lifecycle methods, lots of things you do need to know what's happening at the platform level. It's good knowledge to have. But, like this drawing code, I tend to use things like SkiaSharp. So I try and use non-platform specific abstractions where I can. Yeah, Alphen says Flutter's a lot of fun. Dart's very easy to pick up if you've already used C#. Yeah. But I also like my XAML. That's my other problem. I feel like that's another habit I'll have to get out of when I move to Maui. Yeah, and that's right. Flutter is built on top of the Skia engine. Yeah, it's like, to me, Flutter feels like a great big game engine, basically. Everything's SkiaSharp. Everything's just rendered to make it look like native, which is not a bad thing. So I want to work out the position based on the annotation type. Okay. And then work out the rect for where I should draw it. Because it's draw the annotation. Because it's no longer, in this case, just wherever it is in absolute positions. If it's off, if it's less than 0, so in other words, it's off the screen to the left, we still draw the annotation on the screen. So we need to work out that rect. And then we're going to draw our bitmap. Draw our bitmap at that rect. And of course, when I do that, it's probably going to break all my code, which says, couldn't work out if I clicked on an annotation. But that's all right. So let's do this. We've got our marker location. Work out the position, what type of annotation. So left, right, or center. Now, I actually don't have different annotation types, but I do need to work out what it's going to be. So I'm going to create a method here, which is like, what's my annotation display type? And it's going to return, say, an enum of annotation display type. And that's either going to be like, it's a center annotation, it's going to be a left annotation, or it's going to be a right annotation. So our method is going to look like, it's going to return an annotation display type. I love how it suggests this. See this here? This is pretty cool, right? So I'm returning an annotation display type, and I've started typing in get, and it's gone, you know what? You're probably going to want to call this thing something like get annotation display type. I'm like, yep, that's what I want. And pass in a fish. And the reason we need to do that is we need to get its absolute position. Get absolute position of the fish. And like I'm calling these methods over and over again. I should probably cache this stuff somewhere. Again, it's an opportunity to refactor. Now, what we're going to do is we want to say if the marker pos, right, is, so it's its absolute position, is less than the left of the screen, right? So didn't we have a screen window rect? Yeah. Dot left. So if it's to the left, yeah, I'm pretty excited for Maui. Looking forward to trying it out. Yeah, I know some people have been putting out some videos. It feels like it's almost time to start trying Maui. Okay, so let's say if that's less than that, then let's return. It's a lefty, right? So if it's off the left of the screen, it's a lefty. If it's greater than the screen, right, which would be our screen window rect.right, we want to return a righty. And if it's neither of those things, it's a center. Okay, so that just helps us work out what kind of annotation it is. Okay. So now I want to work out where I should draw it. Saw a demo on Twitter the other day of a UI running across Windows, iOS, Android, and they all look so uniform. It's pretty awesome. So I'm assuming you're talking about Maui there. Yeah, cool. I think that's what we want. We want it to look pretty similar, but using native controls possibly, or at least just be able to, yes, Maui. Yeah, that'd be cool. Okay. So now, work out the rect for where I should draw the annotation. So the rect where I should draw the annotation is going to be based on the annotation type. We're going to need something like I need a rect. And then we're going to have to say based on our annotation type. Oops, that didn't work. What was that? Annotation display type. Can you work that out? Can't you work that out for me? Yeah. Wow. Okay. Based on our annotation type, where is the rect? Well, so this marker on screen position is get annotation screen rect. I feel like we should do it in here. This is kind of working it out if we're on the screen. Maybe we should change this method. Hey, Goku Jax, how you doing? Good to see you. Official release in November of Maui. Next year? This year? Yeah, I don't know. It's a ways off. But not too soon to start learning about it, I think. Okay, I'm just gonna write this code here. Oh, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna refactor it later on. So if it's a center, now look, I should just be able to do this, right? I should just be able to say, let's, God, is it any, it is different for these. Maybe I don't care. Maybe I don't care. Maybe, okay. Let's get annotation screen rect. Let's do that. Okay. So we got our annotation. Okay, work out where it should be based on an offset. So marker screen position. So marker on screen position. Right. So here I think we need to put in some cases actually. I think we need to say here, get its actual pos. This is harder than I thought it'd be. All right.
Today we're gonna code lots with Mr.
Hey, it's Formic. How you doing? Thanks for following. You're watching me struggle well, not even refactoring, just writing some code, trying to work out how I'm gonna calculate these things. All right, here's what we need to do. We need to say, let's have a look at the annotation type. Get annotation type for the fish, right? Cool. And we'll put it in here. So annotation screen rect will always return us where it should draw the annotation. Cool. That's good. And this would be the code here for if it's on screen. So we'll put this code here because then we don't have to muck around with writing it multiple times. Okay, so I think if it's in the center, it should be that. Marker screen pos, offset it by the width, the height. I think that's right. Okay, if it's a left annotation though, we're going to want to basically want to do this, right? Get the annotation height and width. But then what we're going to do is we're going to say the location of this puppy is going to be, how's XAML hot reload? XAML hot reload's awesome. Alpha Golf. My problem here is I don't have C# reload, which I saw a video on, Gerald did a video on C# hot reload. That's what I really need, but because I'm doing SkiaSharp stuff, I got no hot reload, which would be nice. So now I think all I need to do is I need to say the location is going to be at 0, Y, because it's going to be, so when it's on the left, it's going to display it at 0x, and whatever. So I'm running SkiaSharp within a Xamarin screen? Absolutely. Yeah. Let me see if I got an example of one here. Here's another example of Skia code within Xamarin. So this here, this is not Skia, but when I do this transition, I actually do that in Skia. That's an example of SkiaSharp inside there. Or another one would be, actually probably a better one, would be this one. So so most of the elements on here are just normal Xamarin.Forms controls, but this picture here is actually in SkiaSharp because I do some funky transitions. So yeah, this is mixing SkiaSharp and Xamarin.Forms, and it works really well. It's really fast. Anyway, okay, my left annotation location is going to be at 0, comma. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Annotation, no. Marker screen pause. Oh, here. I just need to do this actually. I think. I just need to offset it. And because I don't need the actual coordinates, I can actually just offset it by is this right? God. Think, man, think. Yeah, so I offset it by 0. So what I'm doing is I've got this point where it should be. I'm creating a rect. In our case, I'm like drawing it at 0, 0. And then I'm adjusting it so that so let's say the point is here. I'm going to draw it at 0. I'm just going to move it up by the amount that the line would be. So I think that's right. I think. All right, let's go with that. Let's see what happens. Now the right one is going to be, let's start it off with this. We're going to create a rect of the size of the bitmap. Cool. Now what we're going to do is we're going to offset from the right, from the right of the page. So to do that, we could say our right rect here, we're going to offset that by the screen width minus the width of the annotation. So that should draw it on the right hand side of the screen. So that's the X, and the Y, we want it to go up half the height of the annotation plus the line type. Wow. This must be super interesting. And that's it. Not all code paths return a value. Wow, if it's none of those things, I don't even know what it is, so I'm going to return a skrect dot empty. Which I don't know what that is. It's like, I don't know what values that has. It's probably 0, 0. Okay, cool. So maybe that's giving us our right positions now. Get annotation. So let's take this all back to our code. Get annotation display type. So I think this can now say get annotation screen rect for the fish. And that's where it should draw it. So now we draw the bitmap at that rect. So let's ignore this line marker stuff. So yeah, so let's draw the bitmap at that rect. So let's go canvas dot draw bitmap. Draw bitmap. Draw bitmap. The annotation. Do we have the annotation? Ugh. Well, it's for the moment it's going to be our fish annotations dot fish dot on screen annotation, because we haven't got different ones yet. So we draw that at our rect. Yes. And that's it. Right? So that should draw it where we need it. But I think we don't need these anymore because they're done inside of there. All right. Now, if though it is a center annotation, annotation type equals annotation display type dot center, we need to draw a little line, which is that code there. But we need to know where to do it from, which is not our marker location. It's not our absolute marker position. It's a relative marker position. So let's say marker position equals get annotation, get marker on screen pos for our fish. Because we already have one of those yet, so we can get rid of that. And we can get rid of this code here as well. Because now, if it's a center one, we draw this at that location. I have no idea if this is going to work. I'm like 99% sure it's not going to work. Possibly 100%. Maybe even more. 110% sure it's not going to work. Right. So one thing I can tell you for sure is it didn't work. What we ended up with was exactly the same thing, which tells me that it's not doing this correctly. In fact, let's do this. Let's scroll. So this one is center. That's cool. This one should be on the right. So now we should be working out where it should be. Get marker location. This is right. It's saying, yeah, it's on the right. You should be on the right. That's correct. So if you're going to be on the right, our rect should be the annotation width 300 by 175. We've got our rectangle there. We offset that rectangle. We end up with something like, ooh, that's not right. The left is 1140. That feels like it's right. The top is way off. So what are we offsetting this by? The annotation height. So, oh, wait on. This is not right. This is not right. We're basically just going, we need the marker position. We need marker screen pos.y. Yeah. We need our marker screen pos.y. So our y coordinates of our marker minus the height of the annotation and the line length. And that's going to mean that our left one is also incorrect. Hey Vortex, how's things going? Good-ish. I'm doing some calculations. I'm doing some calculations based on screen coordinates. It's pretty crazy. How are you doing, Vortex? Good. Good. Let's get this annotation reg. So this should now be on the screen. It's on the screen. It's on the screen. That's what we want. Gonna hit the hay? Oh man, I was up really late last night. And yeah, it sucked. Okay, look. Our fish are on the right, which is correct. If I scroll, they're still on, they're still on the right, but then this one moves onto screen. Lovely. And then, and then it's off to the left. And then this one will eventually come on screen. Yeah. Let's see whether our clickety-click works. So if I click this, I go to the center. If I click this, I can switch between my fish. I'm so excited. This is me at my most excited. Okay, cool. Well, that's good progress, right? And it's also showing this, the line is appearing over top of the fish. Yeah, it's going to bring it to me. Yeah, bring me the fish. All right. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly change the order that we draw this thing. So I'm going to, if it's a center, I'm going to draw the pole, for want of a better word, first, and then I'm going to draw the fish after. which will mean we won't get that little spike going through the middle of the fish. So let me. Am I using Community Toolkit? Not for this, I don't think. I don't think I'm using it in here. I do, or Lachlan and I do in our other ones. When we do the weekly Xamarin application, the Community Toolkit's awesome, but I'm not using it here. This is very custom city. What resources do you use to learn Xamarin? I've been doing it for a while, so it's hard to remember. But resources I'd recommend, lots of blogs, right? So if you wanna know about blogs, this blog here, basically every Friday, Luz and myself put out a newsletter of all the things happening. So that's pretty good start. So this has got good stuff in it, and I've now got like Maui sections in here as well. This is probably not going to post in here. No, it's not. So weeklyxamarin.com, that's good. James, of course. So James has his series of YouTube videos. He does like such cool stuff on there. So James and also Gerald. So James is currently doing a whole series on like 101s, right? Let's have a look at his videos. Right, he's doing so much good stuff here, as always. It's James, right? So he's kind of doing these 101 sections, which are really worth going through. And of course, Gerald as well. So, is this his videos? No, that's his blog. The Xamarin Show. Anyway, look, I think the thing is, yeah, like the Xamarin documentation is pretty good. Subscribe to this so as you can start working out all the people to follow. That would be my my suggestion. Hey, Bill, how you doing? There is, of course, it's a little bit out of date now, but Charles Petzold. Yeah, so Bill, Charles Petzold, Xamarin.Forms book. Here we go. This is a freebie. It's a little bit old now, but a lot of stuff stays the same. So this is a pretty good resource as well. Now, I'm going to have to excuse myself for a few minutes because I need a bio break. So I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes and I'll come back now that we have our fish clicking around and let's sort of do some pop-ups or something like that. Okay, so give me 5 and I'll see you soon. Alrighty. Let's get back into it. We've got ourselves some fishies we can click on. I think what we said we would do is when we click on a fish, we'll pop up a thing. When we click off a fish, we'll pop down a thing. Okay, so let's create a thing. What's this thing going to be? Well, this here, we're doing all the stuff in the background in SkiaSharp, which is cool. We love SkiaSharp, but this is something which we're going to be able to do in Xamarin.Forms. So let's just create ourselves a view here. It's going to be just an element on a grid, and it will be a grid itself. So let's do this. Let's make this a grid. Whoop. It's got 2 rows, really, doesn't it? Right, so it's got 2 rows. And then down here, this chart. Okay, this chart. How are we going to do this chart? Let's make this so we can either use micro charts, but I don't think it's going to do what we want. Alternatively, we could do this really easily in SkiaSharp. Drawing charts in SkiaSharp is pretty simple. It's pretty simple. So let's do this. That's going to have that. Let's just start off with a thing with 2 rows, right? An element with 2 rows. Now, I should be able to do this whilst we're running because hot reload, and we're just doing. Hey, am I not? Where am I? What's going on here? I think what's my stream doing? Something weird's happening here. Hey, Ionix, how you doing? And what have you been working on? Some Xamarin stuff? Yeah, I'm good. Actually, my stream's just done something weird. I don't know where my camera's gone. I'm going to go and try and find my camera. Hey, Jessipas, I am good, thank you. Hang on, I'm just going to switch around some scenes here. Oh, here I am. I'm here. Now I'm not here. Okay. That's weird. Let's see if I can find some. Oh, that's me. That's me. That's me doing weird things. That's me in the middle. What's going on? That's me in the corner. It's me over there. Maybe it is. Let's come back here. Let's come back to desktop view. I should be visible right here. Infinite Kims. What a horrible thought. Let's have a look and see if my camera. Hang on a second. My camera is working. Okay. Damn. All right. Hang on. I'm. Wow. My camera got really small. Okay. Just bear with me here. I might get really big here for a second. Oh. I came back, but now I'm Stream Deck's having a meltdown. Yeah. Ah, well, you know, whatever. Here I am. I'm going to make myself... How's that? It's about right, isn't it? There we are. I think we're back. I don't know what happened there. Okay, here we are. So, what was I going to say? I was going to say we can do this stuff. We can do this stuff of adding this this footer here on our page. So at the moment we've got a grid and we've got a canvas view. Hang on, I'm going to make this sit on top. So Ionix, are you still working on a calendar view in Xamarin.Forms? I feel like that's what you're working on. Oh, just for, in case some of the people joining in and wondering, we've got we can now scroll fish around and we can jump to the right fish. Okay, so not on the live streams. So I should do a that series of videos is finished. So what are you working on now? So Ionix Junior also does Xamarin stuff. Not sure if you're still doing it. Yeah, we can click between these. This is cool. This is cool. So let's add a thing down the bottom. So I'm going to add a grid, and I'm going to make this an app clone and add mob implementation. Beautiful. So I'm going to put a grid down the bottom. And I'm going to give this a background just so we can see it. Make it yellow. Okay, cool. That's where our pop-up's going to go. I think we want a little bit of margin in here, don't we? Yep. And I think we want to add some background color. What is AdMob? Wow, you need to go and have a look at Ionix Junior's stream. I think it's an advertising platform, isn't it? Hasbatu, how are you doing? All right, so we've got a box view here. So this is where our data is going to go, right? So we're going to have two rows in this. Row definitions. We're going to have perhaps two autos. We'll see. Auto. Yeah, so Ionix says AdMob's Google library to load advertising into applications. All right. So we got 2 rows, but they're just really small rows at the moment. So what we want to do is we want to add some of this stuff in, right? 2 really short rows. Show ads in app, it means making money with an app. Yeah, something I'm not at all familiar with because I never do money-based apps. That's why I'm not a businessman. All right. So we're going to have 2 rows. This row here is going... I'm just going to code this out first of all. So we've got a weather icon. We've got a title here. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So let's do this. Let's start with this being 2 columns. And I'm just, for the moment, going to add another grid here. And we'll refactor this later on. Cha-ching, refactor. And this will be in grid row 0. And actually, before we do that, no, it's all right. Let's do this first. Okay, in grid row 0, we're going to have something which has 2 columns in it. So it's going to have, say, an auto and a star. Okay, so the auto for this bit here and a star for this bit here. So let's put an image in here. Its source is going to be equal to, and for the moment, I'm just going to grab my weather icon. We'll worry about some binding a little bit later on. So there was something like a sunny icon. All right, that's big. Maybe we want to give this a width request of, I don't know, let's just pick some values. 80 seems a little bit low. $180 seems a little bit big. Let's go with 100. Okay, cool. And then we'll throw a stack layout in grid column 1. And we'll stick a label in there and our text is going to be equal. And look, I'm just going to hard code this puppy in here for the moment. Okay, so I'm going to move this design onto another screen because I don't have this in my binding context, right? So let's just okay, so this is going to say South Mandalika Lake. Okay, and then underneath that, let's give this a style. Let's move it on to another line, actually. I'm going to go with a section header and set its text color to black. Okay, so that looks okay. It needs some margins because that's what it needs. Okay. And then we're going to have some coordinates in here as well. So it's going to look very much like the coordinates that we have on our other page. Let me just go and steal a little bit of code here. I don't even know why I'm looking at this actually. Anyway, section detail. It's actually this here that we're after. But of course, I don't have me stupid models yet, do I? So I should probably fix that, but you know what? Right now I'm not going to, because right now what I want to do is I want to just sort of focus on getting this positioned correctly. We don't like that? We don't like that. Ugh, maybe I should just fix my models. Stop being lazy. All right, so we got that. Let's reduce the spacing between these. Weak. Okay, that looks good. How's it actually look in the design? Yeah, it's actually kind of spaced out a little bit more. Okay, let's not concern ourselves with that too much. Let's go and add ourselves a line. So we're at a box view with a height request of 1 and a background a color of light gray. That's going to do bad things, but what we'll do is we'll say, let's make this span a couple of columns. Let's make it vertically at the end. Okay, so it's actually drawing it down here. And let's give it a margin of 20 from the side, 0 from the top. Okay, now let's put in our second bit of information here. Our grid that's going to go into the footer. So in this case, what it's going to be is going to be, zoiks, I don't know what I did there. It's going to be this bit here. So we're going to throw in a grid. It's going to have 2 columns. It's going to have, I think we're going to divide this up. So we're going to say that this is a little bit wider than this. So we're going to say this one's going to be 1 star, and the second column is going to be 1.5 star. And then in here, do I have a bind? I think I have a binding to the fish. I should be able to get a binding to the fish. I'm just not sure if I've set the binding context. I haven't. So let's do this. This.binding context equals our view model. And that view model is going to have to change. But anyway. Zoiks. Yeah, okay. Once we get the right information in that at that binding context, we'll switch everything over to bind. But the problem with that is that there is some information on this screen which is actually from several different locations. So for example, The fish is based on the selected fish. Oops. But the weather information is based on the location. So anyway, there's that. Okay, so let's do this. Let's put in an image in here. And I'm just going to go for my binding context, binding to probably something like location.fish0.image. Let's guess. It's a pretty cool thing you can do with binding context. You can just, if this is right, which it's, yeah, it's right. Just going to go in grid row 1. So you can reference. Okay, so we've got a fish down there, but our box view doesn't span our columns. So we need to say grid dot, our rows. Row span equals 2. There we are. Now we've got our fish. And then what we're going to do. Chicken wing. Have you ever messed with Xamarin.Forms on a multi-screen Android device? I have not, but I tell you who has. Craig Dunn has. And he did a video on it recently. Let's see what we can do here. Craig Dunn, Microsoft, Android, multi-screen. There, he did a video on it recently. So Craig's a legend. And actually what he did the other day, which I want to go and have a look at, but I haven't yet. Craig did a thing. I'll read all these puppies later on. Where he went and took one of the UI challenges that I did, and he turned it into a dual screen. So in fact, we were having a look at this one earlier on. And so he turned it into a dual screen one so that he could put it over multiple pages. So that's kind of interesting. And I need to have a look at how much code he did, but I don't think it's too much. So anyway, short answer to your question, Chicken Wing, is no, I haven't. Craig Dunn has done a lot of it. And I hope to do some as well. Of course, I don't have a device. If I could convince Microsoft to give me a device, maybe. But, I'm going to add a border to this. No, a margin to this. Yeah, Chicken Wing, if you could, if you could sort that out for me, that'd be great. Okay, so now we want to chart over here. And our options for charts are put one down for Vortex as well. Yeah, Craig is awesome. He works on the docs team, and he's amazing. He's a really nice guy. He's Australian too. There's micro charts, but I don't. Craig Dunn. Concept dev on Craig Dunn. He does. If you want to know anything about Surface Duo, follow him. He works on it a lot. And he's also just a really nice guy. So I'm sure if you put in the work, try and make it work. It doesn't work for you, Craig will help you out. Sorry, Craig. So this is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to put another. Okay, wait. What were we talking about? We're talking about microcharts. Look, microcharts is great, but it's not that customizable. And part of this whole stream is about sort of, I don't know why that's gone sort of grey. Why has it gone grey? I don't know. Part of, let me just come back here and have a look at this. Part of this stream is just trying to create UIs that look like this stuff. So with this, we've just got a bunch of bars. This is just a bunch of lines, right? So I think we're just going to do this with the SkiaSharp canvas. Easy peasy, he says. So now what we're going to have is we're going to have a page with SkiaSharp at the back, Xamarin.Forms over the top, and Skia inside the Xamarin.Forms. It's like triple bag in SkiaSharp. Look, yeah, Craig's super nice. Super nice. Love Craig. All right. I'm going to stick this in grid, column 1. And just so I can see it, I'm going to set a background color. Background color of yellow. We'll just see if it's appearing where we think it should be. There we are. That's where our chart's going to be. Lovely. Okay. And we are going to give it some margin. So this is, it's pretty cool. That's too much. Let's give it some margin of 10, 0, 0, 20 to the side and 20 to the bottom. How's that? Yeah, it's about right. Okay. So that's what that's going to look like. Now, the idea is that when we click on a fishy, so this is going to be we'll call this a pop-up. We'll just call it pop-up. The idea is going to be that when we're going to translate this down, right? So if I was to translate this by 40, it's going to move down. If I move by 80, it's going to move down further. 200, going to be close to off the screen, right? In fact, we will just move it off the screen, I think, right? So we'll move it off the screen. When we click on something, we animate its translation back to 0, and it pops up. And of course, we'll have to update stuff. And we'll have to draw a grid. But first things first, let's get some of this working. So I got pop-up. First things, we'll make it so I click on a fish, this thing pops up. I don't click on a fish, it pops down. Okay, so we had some code which was handling our clickety-clicks, right? This needs so much refactor, but anyway. We do an animate to fish. So maybe what we want to do, look at this animation here. Let's create perhaps another animation. Let's call this our pop up animation. Just call it pop up. We'll say this is a new animation. And we'll go. We'll give it a value. Doesn't really matter. We'll give it a value. And we'll set its pop-up.translation y equal to that value. And we're going to have a starting value. And we're going to have an ending value. And we're going to give it the same easing. Why not? And that's about it. And maybe we can add that animation to our other animation so that it does it at the same time and at the same speed. Okay, so now we just got to work out where this thing goes, right? So we're going to have a start pop. Now, this is going to depend on, well, it's going to be, we should start it at wherever it's currently translated, right? So we'll say pop up translation Y, because that's all we're moving, right? We could also just do this with an awaitable method as well, but let's just go with this. End pop equals. This is going to be 0, right? Because this is basically saying I want it to pop up and I want the translation Y to be 0. Okay, and that should probably work. But we also need to do something where when we miss a fish, keep up the good work. Keep doing the good thing. Awesome. Thanks, Adam. We'll go pop-up translation. Well, let's just do this. We'll just say translate to, changing it by 0, and then we want off-screen pause. So, our off-screen pause,
Today we're gonna code lots.
Hey, Adam.
Mr. Kim Phil
Thanks for the follow.
Oh, how amazing you'll be.
So our off-screen pause is actually gonna be the top of the pop-up. Right, so the top of the pop-up. So if we imagine we've got a screen. So Vortex, what time is it here? It's lunchtime on Friday for me. So at the moment I'm streaming twice a week. So on Fridays, starting about 2 hours ago, I do UI stuff, just UI challenges, just to, I don't know, because I like it. And on Wednesday nights, my time, at about 9 or 10 p.m., I stream with Lachlan and we do the weekly Xamarin app. So we released the Android version. Next week, we're going to release the iOS version. So yeah, so 2 times a week at totally different times. All right, this is what I want to do. I want to go, boop, this is my pop-up. When it's off, I basically want to translate it down this amount, right? The page height, because that's going to go whoop down there and then it's going to sit down here somewhere. So that's what we want to do. So basically we want to get the height of the page minus the top of that is how much we want to go down. So we'll go like this dot height plus no, what are we doing? This dot height minus pop-up bounds dot top. Is that it? Good. The height? Hang on, what are we doing? We've lost what I'm even doing here. Okay, so we got our height. We got a pop up here. We want to do it that much. So yeah, it's the height minus the top of the bounds down that way. So yeah, I think that's right. Translate to off screen pause. Um, 400 easing dot spring out. Spring in. I don't know. No, not spring. Yeah, spring. Let's do spring. All right. Animate close pop-up. Is that going to work? I don't know. Let's give it a go. Let's give it a go. Let's just see what happens. It's hard to know. Like after you write code for a while, you just like, I kind of lost what I'm doing. Let's run it and see what's happening. Oh, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to work for a start because this is going to pop it in and out, right? So if it's that, otherwise that. Yeah. Okay. And we're doing the animation of the open here. I can get the pop height to apply in translation. Yeah, that's probably what I do. What am I doing? Yeah, that's what I should be doing. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, totally. Totally. That's totally what I should do. So the off-screen pause, this is, yeah, of course it is. Off-screen translation. Yeah. What am I doing? This is totally going to be pop-up dot height, right? Yeah, that's it, right? Of course. Because that's what we're doing. We're just moving it down the height of the pop-up. Now, we are going to have a problem. It's going to be visible when it first starts. We'll deal with that later. Hi. She didn't go down as far as I thought it would. Yeah, margins. Okay, but that. Okay, I click outside. Bye. Plus the margins. I click on this one, pops up. Click outside, pops down. Okay, we'll adjust the margins. That's good. It's cute. We like that. We click this one. Yeah, why didn't it pop up? clicked on a fish. I clicked on a fish. Translation Y is there. Yes. Surprised that doesn't work. Click on a fish. Oh. It's like totally broken. Okay. I click on you. Why do you go down? Why do you go down? Oh, I know why. Because we run through all the fish annotations to see if we got any of them. That's why. So we basically need to say, pool found fish. Clicked on fish. Clicked on fish. Equals false. And then we need to say, and I actually should just break out of here, right? If I clicked on a fish, yay, right? Pop it up. But I don't want to, and I want to say I found a fish. I clicked on a fish. And then I want to say, if I haven't clicked on a fish, close my pop-up. And, you know, there's lots of efficiencies to be had. Yeah, does that make sense? Yeah, I think that's right. I should have, hang on. Before we do that, let's add our margins. Again, I'm going to be a little bit cheeky here because it's late. I wonder if we could do this. Hang on. If no. Is a padding going to work for my grid? All I'm thinking is, let's find out. So we'd have to add the margins, right? Because the margins, in order to get it to pop off correctly. Right, so it's sitting there being ugly. Wink. But, and then I click on a fish. Yay. I click off a fish. Yeah. Okay, that's behaving correctly now. Okay. So, what if I, instead of adding a margin around this puppy, I'm in the wrong page here. Instead of adding a margin, because if I got rid of that margin, it would now pop off correctly. And pop on correctly, right? But I don't want it to go all the way to the edge of the screen. I'm just wondering if I did a padding. Is that going to work? Of 20. That would be kind of cooler because it would mean that I wouldn't have to fudge in the margin, and I think that'll work. Yep. Need to reposition some of these fish. Okay, that's pretty cool. So the other things that we want to do here, let's add a little bit of yeah, it's kind of better. It just means I don't have to factor it in all the time. It does mean that, like, my grid is still actually goes all the way out to the edge, which is going to have some unintended consequences actually, because, well, not really, but technically speaking, if I was to click here, it should close the pop-up, but it actually won't, right? So, you know what I mean? If I click right here, that should close a pop-up. It's not going to close until there, but you know what? I don't think I care. That's what testing's for. Cool. Let's draw a quick chart before we call it quits, and then we can do some tidy up next week, I think. Or we can just move on to a different one and I'll finish this off stream. Doesn't matter. But let's put a chart in here. So the chart for this should be pretty simple, right? I got to fix all my binding context. But I'm not going to do that now because I'm a little bit tired. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to give this a name. So this is my, oops. This is my byte time chart. Byte time chart. Okay. And I'm going to, because it's a canvas view, I'm going to have a paint surface method. And in my paint surface method, I'm going to just draw a little chart, right? So if we have a look at the chart, it's basically this. I actually looked at this chart and I don't understand how it works. I think it's just like a graphic designer doing their thing, right? Because let me zoom this puppy in here. Right. If this was a chart of the byte times, and this is going from 0 to 24, you would assume that there are, if it's hours, it's 24, but it's not. It's like 30 something. Anyway, we're just going to divide this into 24 bars. We'll just give them some random values. Yeah, we'll assign some values, and then we'll just draw some lines. We'll just go blip, 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 draw, 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 draw. And perhaps we'll draw a little grey line if there's nothing. Sure, why not? How hard can it be? Do I recommend using, what's the question? Do I recommend using a box view in some situations instead of a frame? Yeah. When would I recommend that? So box view is simple, right? Box view is super simple, but it's kind of nice, right? So the box view, like for the background, I put a box view in, and for a line, I put a box view. Frames are good if you want to encapsulate it around things. So like, technically speaking, we could restructure this in a different way. We could instead wrap a frame around the grid. You know what I mean? To give us our rounded corners. That'd totally work. I think, you know, the thing with UI design is that there's like a zillion different ways you could do something. And yes, this coordinates below here is totally useless. Right, so what I did is I created a grid. And then put a box view inside to do the background color. And that's cool. We could also have done this actually. We could have given this a frame. Around, sorry. We could have given it a frame around this. Hello, Nosrin Astro, welcome back. Good to see you again. We could have done this. Vertical options of end. We could have given this a padding of 0. We could have given this some rounded corners. We could have, you know, given it a bit of margin. And then we could have got rid of this box view. And we would still have our thing, right? And that would totally work. Goku Jax. Same, it's exactly the same thing, right? Is it better? I don't know, maybe. Yeah, the difference is really, really small, like in my view. The reason I tend to do it the other way is just personal preference, because normally when I look at a design, you know, I'll go like, yeah, so I got this thing here and I'm going to have a grid and this thing's going to be a grid with rounded corners, you know. And I kind of, I generally think in terms of grids, but, you know, it's equally valid to go, okay, so I've got a frame, and inside of my frame, I've got some things. So it doesn't matter. Ionics or somebody else might have some other opinions. I mean, this would be useful for like, you know, like putting a horrible shadow. So that's probably done a little shadow, yeah. Or if I wanted a border, right? Border, I don't know. Is there a width? Is there not a border width on a frame? You can see it's drawn a border. Thickness? What is it? There's no border then, surely. Border color? Maybe it doesn't. Corner radius. Is enabled, is visible, margins, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I love that you can do this. I love you can do that with controls. So anyway, moral of the story, you could do it in multiple ways. In my case, like if I needed a border around it, yeah, look, a frame would make total sense. I didn't. It's just the way I thought about it. So hopefully that makes sense. Should I just leave it this way? Sure, why not? Let's do that. Let's leave it this way. I think it's the same. Oops. Oh, it's not the same because... Yeah, all right, let's leave it this way. It's not going to work at the moment because I've changed the name of the control. It's like losing its mind over that. So there you go. Cool. I was going to draw a grid, a graph, wasn't I? That's what I was going to do. And that would put all of our basic things in place. so that then next time maybe we can come back and we can just finish this challenge. Make that hide for a start. Yeah, the concept's like a card view, yeah. So maybe it does make more sense in this situation because it's kind of like a card, right? I think I'm going to do the same thing though. Actually, I'm not going to be able to do the same thing now because, sorry, I'm just thinking in terms of the spacing for this. Now this will have to be the margin, right? Because, yeah, because it's the frame that's drawing the background. Yeah. Cool. Alrighty, let's draw ourselves a graph. How hard can that be? At the moment, let's just get our random values, maybe. What do you reckon? First of all, we'll get some values that we need for a paint surface. So our info, which is our E. I wish this really put it in for you as a starting point because normally you end up putting this code in every time. Canvas equals E dot, no, surface dot canvas. All right. Yeah, the cool thing about the frame as well is it'll go around whatever you put in it. It's pretty lightweight. Okay. Let's clear our canvas, first of all. Let's create ourselves a paintbrush. So we have a new SK paint, and it's going to have, what's it going to be? I suppose it's going to have a color equal to, so this would be a Xamarin.Forms color from hex, and then we can cast it to an SK color. Hey Onyx, yeah, see you later. Thanks for dropping in. Thanks for the raid, and yeah, hopefully I'll see you next time. I think you stream normally just before me. So yeah, have a great weekend. All right, let's have a look what's going on here using SkiaSharp views. Let's go have a look at the color of this thing. What's it called? I'm not thinking, I'm tired. Power Toys has a color selector, right? Color picker, Windows Shift C. I like this. This is my new favorite color picker. All right. I like that one. Windows Shift C. So let's put that value in there. Okay. Let's give this a, we're going to pretty much just create some lines here. So we'll say, we'll make this have rounded things because it kind of looks nicer. We'll also say our stroke width is going to be like 8 pixels, say. We'll have our style. And we'll just make this one just the stroke, I think. I'm just going to draw a line, basically. Okay. So now we've got a pen to draw this thing with. Now, if we want to draw a bar graph and we've got like, we want to have 24 lines in it, why don't we make it to the size of whatever it is? So we'll say, let's have our spacing of our bars. Bar spacing equals the width of the canvas divided by the number of bars, 24, 34, 24, 25, 24. All right. And I'm definitely going to get off by one error here. And maybe we should then just loop around. Dun, dun, dun. And we'll go from 1. Go from 1 to 24. 24, 24, 20, 24. All I'm going to do, sorry, I'm getting weird at this point, is I'm just going to create a random R&D equals new random. Right, cool. And then I'm just going to generate a number between 0 and 1 bar value. So we'll just say random next double, which is going to give me a value between 0 and 1. It's greater than or equal to 0 and less than 1. Right? And we'll basically have a starting point for our bar graph, which is going to be so alpha golf. Do you ever feel limitations by the level of abstraction you are at within Xamarin? Do you find yourself wanting to dive into the native layer for something specific at times? Yes, but less and less so as the platform matures. Like, used to spend a lot of time writing custom renderers and things like that in Xamarin.Forms, which you would still write in C#, but you would have to know about the iOS APIs and the Android APIs, right? And so you used to spend a lot of time doing that sort of thing because there was a lot of stuff you couldn't do. But as things evolved, things like Xamarin Essentials, the community toolkit have come along, and they do a lot of those things for you, right? A lot of those abstractions, they actually have the platform code in it, but they basically handle it for you. And things like Shiny as well for things like backgrounding. So those, I use those, right? Because I'm a really lazy developer. So if somebody's done an abstraction for me, I'll use it if it works, right? And so less and less so. And for drawing, I really like SkiaSharp, so I use that. And that pretty much takes care of most of the things that are platform specific. Now, if I was writing those components, then yes. But I don't really write components. So hopefully that makes sense, Alpha. Yeah, we do. We need a Xamarin Maui UI challenge. And as soon as I get off my butt and actually start installing them and work out more about Maui, I will. In fact, probably once they think that Maui's a little bit ready for UI stuff, I'm probably going to go back through all the UI challenges and upgrade them all to Maui, I'd say, just to see how hard that is. But yeah, start doing them in Maui. Yeah. Alpha says, nice, that makes sense. I found myself get stuck at certain points when I was using Flutter for the first time and need to stream audio and touch the native audio player controls. Yeah. So Maui is technically Xamarin rebranded with new features for the desktop. No, not really. It's kind of like, it's more like, Xamarin is built and it was, it's been built for years and years and years. And it's got to a really, really good point, but there are some architectural changes as well that they want to make. And so, Maui is it's the same in terms of its cross-platform applications, but it's a very different beast. You'll have to migrate things to Maui, but David ought to know and that tell us that they're going to create some great tools for it, and I no doubt they will. So think of it more like, I think of it more like, like instead of going like version 5 of Xamarin, it's more like version 500 of Xamarin, where they've like redone a whole bunch of stuff. But also it allows you to move to other technology. This is how I understand it. It allows you to move other things like MVU and more modern architectural designs as well. Xamarin.Forms, even though you don't have to use MVVM, it's kind of, pushes towards MVVM. Anyway, it's going to make a whole bunch of things like renderers and all that sort of stuff a lot easier. So, but I don't know enough about it because I haven't actually installed it. All right. Let me quickly do this because I'm gonna have to stop streaming soon. So I'm gonna cover start point, which is I times the bar spacing, right? So which of my 24 times the width divided by 24. And then I'm going to, so that's going to be my X value, and my Y value is going to be the height. I'm going to go from the bottom. So I've basically got this thing here. I'm going to come across 24 times. I'm going to have a start point, which is going to be like down here. It's always going to be here, and then here, and then here. And I'm going to draw a line up to whatever my value is. Like that. So this is going to want to be the height minus some sort of padding. Let's make it 10. Nice hard-coded value. Yeah, I'm excited for it as well. And like I see a lot of really cool people well, not cool, but really influential people in technology saying they're really excited for it as well. So so I think it's definitely something to invest some time into. Okay, my bar's going to be in the same place, so that's going to be that. And then I'm going to take this into info.height. Basically, I want to do this. I'm going to go like this. I'm going to draw from here. My values are between 0 and 1. So I want to times the height by my value. So like if it was 0.5, it would draw it up to 0.5. So let's do something like info.height minus info.height times my bar value. Sorry, it's behind my head. There we are. And does that feel about right? Feels about right. Something, something for casting, something, something. All right. And then I should just be able to go canvas dot draw a line between my start and my end using my something, something paint, which is my bar paint. And that's probably going to give me a bar graph. Ah, thanks, Goku Jax, for the link. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I don't want to jump into Maui too soon, because I'm fairly busy, as you can tell. I'm fairly busy, and I don't want to waste too much time. I'm too old and grumpy to alpha test. So I think as soon as you can really reliably start creating some apps with it, hey, look, there's my bar graph. With some random values that don't change. Something weird here. It's like it got a negative value or something. Anyway, that's that. So that's a bar graph. A really. Where's my image? What happened? Did I break something? I think my background bitmap is a null. Interesting. Okay, there it is. All right. So we have the basics there. Beautiful. All right, I'm going to think about all of the things that I need to do. Let's have a look. This page here is pretty solid. Let's think about this page. And I'm just going to open a notepad here for a second. Just while I'm looking at this, what are the things to do? I think we need to have, with this application, we need to do we need to hide the top bar. We need to get rid of the hide bar and navigation bar. We need to bind the values to the pop-up. We need to, so that's going to be to the pop-up and add view model support. What else do we need to do? Well, that's interesting. So we got rid of that. Anyway, finish the UI components of pop-up. It's kind of the big ticket items. What else do I need to do? I think we want to cache the background bitmap. Because at the moment, it's making like a zillion calls off to go and get it, and it's slow. And so what we might also want to do is have a loading indicator on fishing location page background load. Okay. Can I ask a question for people who might still be watching? Just in terms of these UI challenges, right? So there's some specifics here, like I kind of, when I do a UI challenge, I kind of like to be as truthful to the design as possible. Now, the question would be, like, for example, when something's on screen, it shows the name and that. So do you think I should spend some time doing that and putting these little call outs here? Is that something worth seeing, or is it something I should just do myself? Look, I'll do it on stream. I'm just trying to get an indication of what would be interesting to watch versus what is just me doing tweaks. Yeah, you'd love to see? Okay, cool. Okay, so then in that case, we want annotation specific to left, right, center. Yep. Actually, this one's kind of interesting because in order to do this, we're going to have to use, because we're doing this in SkiaSharp, we're going to have to load some fonts. We're going to have to measure some text to see how big this is, because if you have a look at this is the size of whatever the title of the fish is. So that one would be kind of interesting. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll use SkiaSharp text. Sure. Why not? Given that it's the SkiaSharp that I'm using to draw that, like, you know, again, this is like, you could do this a zillion different ways, right? Like, for example, if I wanted to, you could use like an absolute layout with a skier and just load up a bitmap and stick it inside of here, right? And then scroll the position of it, or do SkiaSharp just for the background. And then you could draw the annotation, because you'd have to draw it. And you could use it using the Xamarin.Forms drawing APIs. And then you could, you know, use Xamarin.Forms images and text and things like that. But I feel that when you're getting those positioned in the right place using an absolute position would probably be a pain. Maybe it wouldn't. I don't know. But also, I think, you know, if you're doing something like this, it's super custom, right? Like, so yeah, I just use SkiaSharp. It'd be interesting actually to see if you could do this using just Xamarin.Forms controls and the drawing APIs. Like this. I wonder if you could draw this. Anyway, I'm not going to go there at the moment. Okay, so this gives me something to do. That's good. So there will be one more stream on this, I guess. Let's have a look and see if there's anyone else doing some streaming. Maybe we can raid somebody.
I just feel like,
oh, not that person. Let's go to galley.io. Yeah, it's great. I heard SkiaSharp text is kind of hard to measure, so I thought it would create a card and arrow and skier, and yeah, there's loads of different ways you could do all this stuff. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, like it's like architecting an application. There's no right way to do it. There's better ways and worse ways. But yeah. Okay, let's see if there's anyone to raid. Dum, dum, dum. Let me know if you know anyone. The Alt F4 stream is doing a bit of DevOps work. Codephobia is chillaxing. Dr. Mikachu is doing some game development. Anyway, I like to raid. I think it's good to go and raid some people. Xamarin can be beautiful. Xamarin can be beautiful. Yeah. Let me before we do this. Here's some other UI challenges. Like just in terms of these are ones we've done in the past. Here's some good looking ones. This one's pretty good looking. You know, it's got like, this does SkiaSharp text, does gradients that go through there. So that's pretty. This one here that we were talking about earlier, this again is Xamarin.Forms. So this one, and this one actually does it different on rotation. So if I rotate this, now I've got a different layout. And as I move between things, it does some funky little banding. And, you know, it animates text up and down, things like that. So yeah, you know, that's sort of some SkiaSharp stuff. Here's some non-SkiaSharp stuff. Maybe, I can't remember whether this one's in a working state. I think it is, right? So I got like a pizza thing, and then I can say, yeah, let's get a bigger pizza. Let's go and throw that in here. Whoop. Or buff it up. so that's a fun UI. The one we finished last week was coffee time. Well, like you know, I can't design UIs very well, but I can copy them pretty well. So there's this one here, which is kind of nice, and we can say, you know, add this to the bag, and then we can say add another one of those, add a medium one of those, swipe this up, get our order. You know, it's pretty cool. So yeah, look, I think, yeah, I think with Xamarin.Forms you can with enough code you can do whatever you want. This was a fun one. I wonder if this still works. So this is one where you sort of like different ideas of dialogues, right? So I come here and I click on Frank, and it pops down this UI. You know, and you can close it back up. Or if I say, yeah, let's go and delete this, it'll flip it around. Are you sure? No. And, you know, the cool thing about this and about Xamarin is that all of this code also works on iOS as well. All of this stuff. So, yeah, don't believe the haters. You can do some pretty cool stuff. I should just say for peeps who want to go and have a look at some of this code. Hang on, I'm just struggling with my windows here. You can go and have a look at GitHub. So I've got most of these repositories in here where I have all of this fishing app and coffee app and blah, blah, blah. So go and check out the GitHub. You can go to my blog where I normally put the UI challenges in here. So these are the various ones I've done. I haven't kept this up to date, so I should. But if you want to get a view for, the different ones around the place. That was a pretty cute one. So yeah, so go and have a look at that. Yeah. How many months, years have I been developing with Xamarin? Actually, so I don't know, probably 5 years, maybe. I don't know. So basically, years and years ago, I worked for Xamarin doing Xamarin University, so training Xamarin after having done it in projects before. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know, probably 5 years. I don't know, maybe more. Yeah, Alpha says let the haters spend quadruple the time implementing it in native code. Yeah, but like I don't hate on different platforms. I like Xamarin. I'll tell you what, I like Xamarin because I'm a C# developer, and I like XAML, and I like MVVM, and I've just done that, right? But people always used to ask, oh well, look, I've got a team of Java developers, right, or web developers who want to do cross-platform. Should we use Xamarin? It's like, probably not. You probably should use like React Native or something like that. I don't know. But for me, it's a pretty incredible tool set. And, like, I see very few limitations with Xamarin, but I can understand why perhaps, the Ubers and things like that, like the really tight UIs sometimes just go for the native platform because they don't want the abstraction of Xamarin.